Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Sweet Combat Season 1, Episode 6. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, we have Tien, who is using his free time during his car washing job to be working out, because obviously he's squeezing in whatever training he can to some extent. Obviously we haven't had an opportunity for like full-on training, at least from what we've seen with Zhao Mi and Yanan, because he only has like a small window of opportunity, which Zhao Mi was like, no, let me take that opportunity, but then Yanan is like, no, let me take that opportunity. But he ultimately ends up running into Yi Qian again, but this time Yi Qian ends up being with Guanyan, who obviously, like, once again, very much like the webtoon counterpart being Manon. Like, Manon was, like I said, a cool, good dude. And so he saw the way Yi Qian was acting towards Tian, and it's like, oh, like saying like, oh, I used to beat him up all the time, yada yada yada. And then Queen like dealt with him and like was twisting his finger, and it's like, right, like you bring shame upon your school, like coming here doing that, because everyone will think your school is full of nothing but bullies. It's like, we have our standards and rules here. Like, don't try to physically threat anyone. Like, when you do something, like anything physical needs to be handled in the ring. You know, and obviously Tien appreciates. He's like, right, thank you, but I'll handle it on my own. So, and obviously Guanyan like ends up well, first and foremost, he apologizes. He's like, right, for my junior, like, for taking that joke too far. And then later on confronts him. It's like, did you bully him? He's like, nah, man, it wasn't even like that. It's like, no, you're still lying to my face. He's like, the fact of the matter is, you know, their number 3 rule was like, we don't bully people. The fact of the matter is, it's like, if you do that again, if I hear word about you doing that again, we're gonna have a problem. Which I think that's so interesting, because it's a similar stance that Manon took in the webtoon as well, but he came down a lot harsher in the TV show, because it's similar. I'm curious if they're going to do, like, there's a thing later on in correlation to, like, the bully and the MC the main character's like thing that like causes some issues later on, and I'm curious how they're going to adapt that as well. And like, I'll talk about it if it comes up, but something that kind of makes even Manon kind of call him out, being like, yo, are you suck, like you claimed you didn't do this thing, but obviously you did. But he never really pushed it too hard, but he pushed it enough. Like I said, I feel like Guanyan would probably more likely push that a lot harder when it comes to the TV show. So we'll see where things kind of go on that front. But the most adorable thing is Queen's reaction to everything when it's all said and done. And she is, after helping Tian, she like goes her own way, and then she starts like pacing back and forth, and she's just like, oh my god, what did I do? Like, the fact is, I didn't think it through. Like, what are people gonna think? Like, why did I do that? And then she's like, yeah, who cares what people think? Like, at worst, what are they gonna think? Like, I like Tian. At worst, that's what they're gonna think. And she's like, oh, this is so awkward. This is so awkward. And then Yanan walks up and is like, what are you doing? She's trying to act cool. She's like, we're here to tie my shoes, except she has no laces. And it's just like, oh, this gets more and more awkward for you, you know? I'm trying to remember. I believe this was after he ran into her at the like ice cream shop again, because she still doesn't know the person in a rabbit mascot costume is him. He made sure to tell the person behind in the store, like, yeah, like, make sure you save that strawberry ice cream just for her. But she did say like, oh yeah, the person in that suit like left it for you. So, and you know, and the entire time he's working, he's kind of peeking behind a tree to keep an eye on her. It's like, it's super, like I said, it's super adorable. It's like, what, he has a different appreciation of view on Queen after everything. So, but Queen ends up having to go to that family thing that her grandfather set up. It turns out, it's like, hey, here's kind of like someone you're going to get close to. His name is Shiwei, because it's like, oh, this is her Uncle Wang, and this is like, I don't know, it was like Wang's like nephew or son, whatever the case may be. This is where we get interesting, because they're basically kind of combining two storylines, because at first when Queen meets him, It's like, oh, do you remember me? And it's like, she does. He's the kid that bullied her and started off calling her. The translations changed from episode to episode, but like some episodes it was like monster, other episodes they translated it to freak. But now it's like, oh, he was that kid. Now this is where I'm saying like combine two stories, because that story did exactly happen in the webtoon. But the thing is, the correlation of like, oh, here's someone you should be getting close to. She does, in a similar manner in the webtoon, she does have a fiance that's kind of like arranged marriage type of thing going on. But the difference is these situations are two different characters. The one that bullied her and the fiance thing are two different characters. Because with the when they were kids thing, how that actually played out is like, because like it all got told at once. Queen basically, it was around the time she was in middle school. She's a little older, her hair is longer. That same guy comes to her and is like, oh my god, Queen, you're so pretty, I actually used to have a crush on you, you should come to my party, right? And Queen like completely denies him, because it's like, I remember you not letting me to come to your party and calling me a freak, you know, or monster or whatever, right? So they've taken that, because even the guy Shiwei was like, hey, you should come to my party. I know you didn't get to come like when you were younger, but I know obviously you want to come like to this one now and stuff, so you should it's the same thing. And like I said, you just throw in kind of like the fiance storyline, which somewhat similar vibes to some extent, because it's more of like the reason why he's trying to be with Queen, it's not because he feels any way about her. It's just kind of like, right, if I don't do this, like my family's going to jump down my throat. So it's out of obligation, not that he really feels anything towards her. And I mean, it probably doesn't. I mean, he just showed his true colors. It's just because she embarrassed him by saying like, right, that she liked him better he was cuter as a kid or whatever, because at least as a kid he was more brutally honest and he wouldn't hide behind like straight up lies and stuff. So, and Tian, like, who happens to be working there, which I love this whole thing of Tian keeps, because like the whole thing is obviously like in the webtoon our quartet of Jaegu, Moonyoung, Dao Dao, and Queen would most likely run into each other at the car wash. That becomes like I said, the main hub. So it seems like, at least with Queen, they're making it so that Tian's odd jobs or part-time jobs constantly end up making him kind of bump into her from time to time. So he ends up being like a waiter at this at the restaurant that her and her brother go to, which her brother tried to play the like I've got your back situation, because he was like, right, driver, like make sure that we get there like let's show up late, because he's having his sister's back, because he knows like, yeah, grandpa's like trying to set something up, and he's like, you don't want to make a good impression, do you? And she's like, no. So they showed up an hour late. And but yeah, remembering who he was, Queen didn't want to be in the same room as him. And like I said, Tian overheard everything, and especially when Queen walked away and the guy was on the phone bad-mouthing her. Once again, very similar to the fiance situation in the webtoon. And so when Tian's there later on, especially because the guy's trying to like make good with Queen, like, oh, you should eat this. It's like, well, I don't like prawns, I'm allergic. Oh, what about crabs? And like her brother's like, yeah, dude, if she's allergic to prawns, she's probably most likely allergic to crabs. So you like, don't be an idiot. They're like, oh, like, shouldn't you be smarter than this? And so when Tian gets the opportunity, having heard all that he heard, he accidentally, quote unquote, pours wine on Shiwei, and Queen immediately recognizes it, because she's like, I follow people's actions enough with my eyes. I could tell that wasn't an accident. You did it on purpose. It's like, yeah, but I heard the way he talked about you, because Tian like realized like him calling her a freak in episode 1, he realizes like how much that actually hurt her. And now hearing that, it's like, I didn't know like there was such a story like that connected to it. And obviously, like, you know, Queen's trying to like put up a strong front, like, right, I don't need you to like defend me, or like I don't need your sympathy. But for him, it's like, I realize like despite us being from two different worlds, we have something in common. Which she's like, no, we don't. But he's like, yeah, we kind of do, you know. And just at the end of the day, because she's like, well, like, let me pay you for the job you, like, amount of payment you would have gotten. He's like, you're trying to throw money at this? She's like, no. Like, you need money. Money's vital, like, to look after your siblings. So you need money. I just want to help out. And he's like, no, it's okay. Like, I want to, like, stick by my own decisions that I made. He's like, the fact is, you've always kind of, like, gone out of your way to protect me. So let me help you this once. And it's just like, it's super adorable, because like, especially because she's getting in her feels about him too. So it's just kind of coming at a interesting time. So she actually invites him out for dinner, and they eat at Hal's mom's place. And she's never had like I guess like regular like chow mein noodles before, and so she's eating it like it was kind of like an adjustment period for her. She was eating even to the point she had her hair in the food, and he had to be like, "Oh, watch your hair," and she's like, "Oh, thanks." It's like it's super cute. But then Hal shows up like, "Oh, what are you guys doing here?" And she didn't appreciate the fact is that he shut it down immediately. That Tien shut it down immediately. Like, no, this we're not dating. And she even says later on, what was the line? That you don't have to, I mean, yes, it's true, but you don't have to like awkward, you don't have to like so like immediately like shut it down or be so like anxious about drawing a line like that, you know, because it's so sad because you know, now that's the complicated thing about the relationship. Neither one of them realizes how the other feels. Like it never crosses Tien's mind that Queen might like him, and in Queen's head it's like, right, he kind of already disliked me before, like there's no way like he likes me. So it's like, you know, it's kind of sad as a sad boy myself who finds it hard to believe any person could ever like me. I've had plenty of girlfriends who can tell you I could tell you stories about it, like, oh yeah, like I had find it like, oh, so and so likes you. What? No, they don't. How could they? Why would they? I'm not, you know, I'm not good enough. And obviously, like, if you've read the webtoon, you know that it ends up being kind of like a cornerstone of like the Queen and Jaegu situation. So once again, we see the early inklings of it here. But and Tien's kind of in this awkward place because he is starting to kind of develop feelings for Queen. I mean, still early enough that he's seeing a different side of her, you know, because even like Hal was like, man, it sucks that you get to see these like cute side of her, because he's like, right, he's smitten and he wants to like make a good impression with her. So it's like, hey, you have to help me out, you have to support me because you don't like her, right? And he's like, no, but it's like, to be fair, like you are entitled to change how you feel because you're feeling it out yourself. Like you're starting to like her, but I'm sure you haven't really defined it because you know, and we'll see whether or not the show goes over it. But like Tien doesn't, I mean, to our knowledge, doesn't really have much experience in the position of like, oh, this is kind of a new thing for him. And I think it's kind of a new, well, it's not a new thing for Queen. It's probably a new thing in a very long time because the last time she liked a boy, he, you know, like called her out in front of everyone and got people chanting, calling her a freak. So, you know, obviously running into him all these years later and kind of being forced to kind of cohabitate with him because of your grandfather. It's like, you know, that'll leave a sour taste in your mouth. But like I said, Tien, it's like we don't know like whether or not he's had much experience on that route of things. You could just immediately tell that's going to come back to bite him. That it's like, oh, like whatever he's starting to feel for Queen, he's going to bury it because it's like, right, it's kind of a crappy thing because I now know how like Hal feels about her and it's pretty clear. So I'm there to try and support because like we are friends, we are schoolmates, and I want to be supportive, you know, despite what I'm feeling. But it's like, am I really in a position to be feeling like that? I've got too much on my plate to even be concerned about that, even thinking like that. So. Speaking of feelings, what I thought was kind of an interesting thing I almost let slip my mind. I was so surprised when they set up the whole thing of Zhao, Queen's brother, having a thing for Zhao Mi. That is super new to this storyline. That never came up in the webtoon at all. So I was like, that's such an interesting thing. And he's kind of trying to use Queen as a means. Like, yeah, the next time you hang out with Zhao Mi, like, bring me along too. You know, so I thought that was kind of interesting. I do love that when he kind of finds out about the whole Tien and Queen situation. Because Zhao's like, oh, like the fact of the matter is you're saying his name and everything. Like he's never seen her have that reaction, even going out to eat with another boy and everything. It's like these are experiences he's never really come across her having before. So it's like, oh, and I love that her threat against him is like, if you keep bringing this up, I promise you I'm gonna play slapjack with you all night. And he's like, please don't put me through that again. So he's even saying like, oh yeah, the next time you're around Tien, like, you know, invite me too. So I think it's like, so he could do the brotherly thing and like suss him out now that he knows like, oh, you like him, so I gotta see whether he's worthy or not. Very much in the vein of like how him and Jaegu, like how Queen's brother and Jaegu meet, and just kind of like how that relationship, like I said, started in the webtoon versus how it starts in the TV show. You have Tien bringing his brother using his own Taekwondo outfit, which is interesting. So it wasn't just boxing; it was like other. I mean, to be fair, it makes sense because in the flashback we saw last episode, he wasn't just boxing; like he did employ kicks as well. So that's interesting. Like I said, like at least in the webtoon, like Jaegu's fighting style does incorporate. It's mainly boxing, but it does incorporate kicks and stuff and leg work and stuff. So it's interesting. Like once again, giving those fundamentals to him already. It's just kind of interesting, and like, it just gives him more to build upon in the TV show than he already has to build upon because he doesn't have. He's kind of starting off like slightly above average in the webtoon just because of his body's in fairly good shape just because of all the jobs he's worked, whereas in this one he's like as athletic enough because he had already done like boxing and taekwondo. So but yeah, his brother's excited about like, wait, I'm able to do this. It's like, yeah, but it's like, yeah, because of what you guys said yesterday, it got me thinking and contemplating things. So how can I protect you if I can't even protect myself? So he's going to let his brother take taekwondo, even letting his sister join. It's like, yeah, you can learn together, but don't start a fight. Always keep focusing on your grades too. So that was kind of nice. No, not even just kind of nice. Very, very nice. And then there's also circling over to the Queen situation. I do like that we brought the cup thing back sooner than I thought we were, but I figured that was going to be kind of like, what that meant for Queen. Once again, she didn't say anything in that moment with her grandfather, but I figured it was a symbolism of just like, right. Because now she's kind of like, she was happy about like the time her and Tian like hung out, like the chow mein and everything. But then it was also like, right, he didn't have to shoot down the whole like, are we a thing? He didn't have to shoot that down so quickly. But then she's looking at the chipped cup because what made her go like, no, like why would he like me? He probably does hate me because to him I'm just a spoiled rich kid who can't even drink the tea he offers me. And so she's looking at the chipped cup and she's thinking about what her grandfather says, and it's like, right, just like stare at it and you just pretend you're blind, because she couldn't even bring herself to drink out of the cup because like it being chipped got to her so much. So she put it down, and it's like, can't even really be called queen when like a single chipped cup is enough to defeat you. And it's like, yeah, it's just, she's kind of going to 0 to 60, but it's once again, it's still representative of the fact of, like, man, like, I think on some level she's like, if I can get more comfortable with that type of stuff, if I could show him like, no, I'm not selfish, that I'm not spoiled, that maybe it can change how, like, I think some level of it is there. Like I figured as much, that especially after having had tea at his house and then having that chipped cup or silverware conversation, not silverware, but plates and cups, not even conversation, but her grandfather was saying all that. I knew it would strike a chord, so I think we're going to probably get a little more of that sprinkled out as you go further throughout the season of just her adjusting so that she could hope that maybe Tian will see her in a different light. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. Really quickly, before I was about to even wrap up, there was one more story bit. Obviously, we had Yanan's dad training up with Guanyan, who, like, there was a death punch technique, and it's like, yeah, the person who knows it died, so her dad's the only person that can teach it now. And I'm like, I don't know if that's Uncle G or whether that's Tian's father, because I mean, obviously both of them are dead, so it could be either or. I'm probably leaning more towards probably Tian's dad, but it might be just as likely Uncle G. But either way, obviously, like, he's trying to get, it's like, right, I'll teach you, but on like 3 conditions, and one of them ended up being like, you have to kind of see the beauty of violence. And Guanyan's like, what's that about? And then in walks Yanan. It's like, I see what you're putting down. So really trying to push his daughter off on Guanyan, which he's not too opposed to it, like, especially like how smiley he gets around her. And I'm sure like the more annoyed she gets, the more he smiles and kind of loves it, so like I said, before I went on that diatribe a little bit, I'm interested to see where the next episode ultimately ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.